Nursing license defense cases commonly arise from diverting the drugs from a patient. So that means just taking pills from your patient, basically. And this happens a lot with people who develop addiction problems and they're nurses and then they end up taking the medicine. Another way that these cases come about is complaints for substandard practice or practicing outside the scope of what nurses are supposed to do. So you can have a complaint that the nurse didn't do something that they were supposed to do or did do something they shouldn't have done. And you can also have the complaint that they made a decision that should have been left to a doctor or somebody higher up the chain. I think nursing is a very unique occupation. So I try to learn as much as I can about the specific area of nursing that my client works in. In a nursing case, I want to figure out if my client did anything wrong, first of all, and if they did not, I want to get the case dismissed. Otherwise, if you did do something wrong, I want to try and figure out, is there an underlying reason for that? Let's fix that problem. If not, then let's try and figure out a way to mitigate the damage that has been done as much as possible. Let's tell the story of you as a nurse, how long you've been nursing, you never had problems here and there. Let's do everything we can to present to the board a very compelling case about you. And not just this one particular instance, because the worst day at work doesn't define who you are as a nurse. In my experience of defending nurses, I have seen it happen that sometimes when something bad happens, they try and blame the nurse. And I do think that that happens sometimes in cases where the hospital or the doctors try and throw the nurse under the bus. I have too much respect for nurses and I won't let that happen easily. I do everything I can to show that no, this was not the nurse's fault. The nurse did everything right here. If a complaint is filed against you as a nurse, the complaint is going to be confidential unless and until you get a public reprimand or worse in the case. So we're going to do everything we can so that we can try and keep this from ever going public so that your reputation remains unstained. If you get notice of a complaint against your nursing license, it's going to usually come in the form of either a letter or an email from the board saying there's been a complaint filed, or you may get a phone call from an investigator. If you go to an interview with an investigator before you talk to a lawyer, you cannot ever get that back. Everything you say can and will be used against you. As soon as you get the notice of a complaint, you need to talk to a lawyer so you understand the procedure and you understand your rights and that your rights are defended. How the case is handled early on can make a big difference in the potential outcome of the case. What kind of defense will be used in a case against your nursing license really depends on the facts of the case. Over the years of working on nursing defense cases, I have worked with several different experts to help me understand the field of nursing that the particular case arose in so that I would understand the medicine behind it and would be able to properly defend my client. I have been practicing nursing defense cases since at least 2010. When I first opened my private practice, I had a few nurses come in with complaints and we were able to defend those cases, and I've been doing them ever since. I love handling nursing license defense cases. I've worked with some really great people over the years doing these cases. It is an area that I have a particular passion for because I think nurses are just a unique set of professionals and we're very lucky to have them. At times in my life when I was very ill in the hospital, I really needed my nurses and I was lucky to get good ones. If good people become good nurses and they have an allegation against them, I want to keep them in that job and I want to protect their license. If you come in for an initial consultation on a nursing license complaint, I'm going to want to know what the basic facts of the case are and where you are in the case. Hopefully you call me early in the case and we'll talk about who's contacted you, what have they said, and what do they want you to do. I'll tell you what your rights are, what you should do, and what I would advise. And then we'll talk about the complexity of the case, how much it's going to cost to defend it, and how we can structure the fees.